Where today, Angus Taylor, and you saw him with Andrew Bolt a little bit earlier, released a report, discussion paper, which means no real decision, but still discussion paper, about the types of technology that should be being backed in, things like little nuclear reactors, maybe on old mining sites. There's even an investigation into cow farts. Literally the word cow farts was on the front page of the West Australian newspaper today. Bravo to Jenna Clark and the team there. But as for the future of coal, a little vague, which is why the member who represents an area so heavily invested in coal but somehow also had no problem with a 45% emissions target by Albo is now pretending it's all about coal.
The government appears to run up the white flag on coal generation in Australia. It's surprising given we have a Prime Minister who brought a lump of coal into the Parliament to demonstrate it has a future in local generation. A bit of hypocrisy now being seen on the government front. We'd all love coal generation to be viable in Australia with the right form of carbon mitigation, but it just hasn't happened because this government hasn't provided a pathway for it.
Oh, Michael, please. Is this, honestly, what sort of garbage is this bloke selling? Each way Albo and his emissions target cuts and all of the 2050s and all the rest of it here. Oh, but we're the ones fighting for coal. Bull.
What a lot of gobbledygook that was. I mean, we know what his leader was like before the last election. When he was up in Queensland, we're for Adani. When we're down in Victoria, we're against Adani. Gold gets whacked. He gets a massive swing against him in his seat. In the Hunter in the election. After the election, he comes out and says, we've got to be more sympathetic about coal. And then we had the Deputy Leader of Labor had to come out saying, yes, I overspoke when I said, it'd be a good thing if the international price of coal collapsed. I think it's got to be a very good idea, says, what's his name down there in Corio, Richard Miles. Very good. They don't know where they are. It's not each way Albo, it's Arthur and Martha. There's a dozen Arthur and Marthas, all at the old people's dance. They had too much to drink. They don't know anyone's name. That's what they're like. We for coal, against it. They've got no idea, Paul. They've got no idea what day it is in relation to coal.
Yeah,
for goodness sake.
Now, Nicholas, of course.
Can you tell me, Paul, are the Labor Party for coal mines or against them?
No, they're 100% against them. This bloke's pretending that he is. They are 100% against them.
No, he's in favour of it.
Oh, yeah, yes, of course. He is in favour of it now when he's on television or when he's trying to book dinner, when you could book dinner in Canberra, and then that all got exposed because, of course, they had to shut that down. Nicholas, also, look, it seems that the technology to maintain a regular supply of energy as we move towards renewables is going to be gas or hydrogen. Are you cool with that as the bridging technology to your windmilled future?
Broadly, yes, I am. Oh. But I've got to pick up on what Michael said there about Arthur or Martha. I mean, this is this coalition government's 19th energy report, 19, and they haven't landed a single one yet. So, and we still don't actually have an energy policy. This is just a discussion paper that's been put out today. But look, there are actually some important steps forward in this report. Like, here is a coalition government finally telling the truth on renewables, saying that renewables are the future. They also say quite definitively that renewable energy is cheaper than other forms of energy. So we can stop having that argument on the Paul Murray program. Renewables are the cheapest.
We can't.
But they make the observation that they are not yet reliable enough, and so we do need other sources of power to bridge the gap to when the technology kicks in that can allow us to go full renewables. And they say that gas and hydrogen can help us bridge us through that transition period. That all makes a lot of sense to me, I've got to say.
Oh, there we go. So it's confusing, but it makes a lot of sense to you.
Paul, can I ask Nick a question
before
we go on?
And then, Bronwyn, you get the last say. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Nick, you're a university professor employed by a statutory authority set up by a Federal Act of Parliament and funded by the federal government. You're also a councillor in the Melbourne City Council paid for by the Melbourne City ratepayers. Have you taken a pay cut? No, I'm just asking, have you taken a pay cut?
Yes, I have. In some roles that I serve in, yes, I have taken a pay cut.
What, as the chair of the planning committee?
Well, I'm not going to go through all my personal arrangements.
I know, I was trying to drag you in.
I'm telling you that, yes, I have.
No, I'm not trying to have a go at you personally, even though you think
well, you are actually.
I'm just trying to, Nick, I'm trying to make the point that that whether it's the energy sector or whatever, the energy companies have had a shocking time in the last 3 or 4 months for all the reasons we know, as is every business in this country. And it's too much, Paul, for Palaszczuk to be lecturing everybody about these things. She's in fact in favour of coal mines. We know that because she gave the approval to Adani about 2 minutes past midnight on election night, just after Scott had announced the miracle victory that he believed in. I mean, people have got to understand, and there is a very strong feeling in this country now against some of these state governments. And I would think Palaszczuk is going, unless she opens these borders and gets back to work very quickly, she will create a huge backlash against her and the Labor government in Queensland.
Agree.
They haven't taken a pay cut. They've destroyed businesses. They're too slow to move, and they're causing enormous and permanent economic damage in Queensland. And she will rue the day if she doesn't get off her backside and do something quickly, I think, Paul.
And Nick, Michael's taken a pay cut because the market is way down, business is way down, his
Correct.
Income is down. All right, Bronwyn, last say on this energy stuff.
I just think, Michael's there giving us all a lecture about politicians aren't in the real world. Apparently I'm not in the real world. I don't drive around Melbourne in a Burberry jacket and a Bentley lecturing people about, you don't know what it's like here in the real world. I mean, come on, Michael.
I'm trying to host a TV show. Let me do so here. Bronwyn, what do you want to say about all of this? Because I've desperately got to get to a break.
Here we go. Here we are in the worst recession since the Great Depression. Here we are under attack by the Communist Party of China, threatening our farmers, threatening our trade because we won't bow low enough and smile enough. And here we are discussing the fact that we've got people who want the country to be like it is now, which is how we'd be if the climate change fanatics got their way. We would be poor like this forever. The fact of the matter is this. I was the first to warn against socialism. It took a while, but people caught on. I was the first to warn against the Communist Party of China and the disaster that we are facing. And I have consistently warned that we have to get out of Paris, that we have to use our coal, which is the cheapest form of power, that we have to say we're not going to take any more of those manufactured monstrosities, which are windmills from China, which are probably made with our coal, and we're not going to import any more solar panels from China to make it more difficult and expensive for people. We have to produce the cheapest power we can to allow people to have businesses that can compete against the slave labour that comes out of China, so we can make things in this country again for the best price we can and can compete against others in the world. And that's the reality. Yes, there's a place for hydrogen. Yes, we want smaller nuclear reactors. But the fundamental thing is we can do for this country is to again give us back the cheap power that we used to have from our coal-fired power stations. Just get on with it.